I grew up seeing ghosts. I didn't like horror movies because I didn't need any more ghosts or scary things in my life. But when I did discover how cool horror movies could be by being in 5, I was like, oh, this is a cool genre. I wasn't giving its full due. So that's really how I discovered it.
I want to hear about these ghost stories over drinks tonight.
All right, guys, welcome to New Jersey HorrorCon. We are here today because Freddy delivers, and so does the cast of Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, so make some noise. Thank you so much for taking the time away from your table and being here with the fans to answer questions tonight. I know these rooms take a minute to warm up, so I'll kick things off with a question or two, but I'm happy to turn things over to the audience as soon as I do see hands up out there. I've long had a theory about the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise that kind of the secret sauce, if you will, is just kind of getting out of the way and letting young people be extremely creative. That's just the way I felt about these movies since I was a little kid. So if you guys think that I'm wrong or right and have any stories to reinforce or detract from that theory, by all means, for anyone who wants to go first.
I go first.
Sure.
You're right. Nightmare on Elm Street 4, there was no script really, right?
The ride, we did write a couple scenes.
Yeah, I don't remember really. There was a lot of changes.
Find it.
I don't know. Nightmare. I'm saying we got to be creative in the fact that we made up some of our own minds on that, because there was a writer strike happening. So they had changes that no one would put their name on it, and so you get the script and it's all white, and then there'd be changes. So they'd put color, the blue pages are the changes. By the time it was done, it was multicolored. It was like this.
With another witch in we write was listening. I'm my mind reborn.
That was fun too, though. I stopped memorizing my lines. I was like, no, this is going to be confusing when I get the lines. I'm doing them that day, so I just stopped.
Stop. And also because special effects wise, we had to fight.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we can't. Hello. All right.
There we go.
But special effects wise too, for sure. I mean, there were these young creative kids, Nick Benson, for instance, and
George.
Yeah, they were all not teenagers, but early 20s, which at my age, I consider that a baby. So anyway, I would concur.
Cool. So I've been a fan of these movies like my entire life. Were you guys fans prior to your involvement in the series? And if so, what was your gateway drug? Which film brought you in? Was it? I'm guessing most people are going to say the original, but
I've always loved horror films. I still love them because I love to get scared. But I kind of grew up watching them. There was this thing in my hometown. I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we had this thing on Friday nights called the Plenty Scary Movie. And every week it was a different thing. And that's how I fell in love with Christopher Lee and, all the old Hammer horror films, all of that stuff. I always loved that. I thought it was so great. So
Yeah.
I was thrilled to do this franchise. So happy about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, as a kid on Saturdays, was always cartoon morning, and my sister and I would be in the basement, and then at noon was the Monkees. Remember that? Then all afternoon would be black and white horror films, Frankenstein, Dracula films, Twilight Zone, and I just fell in love with it since grade school. And then I maintained my love of horror too. So I was already a fan of, Nightmare on Elm Street. So to become part of the franchise was like pinching myself. It was, it was amazing. The day first day before filming, I was like, couldn't sleep that night. It was like that first day of school, can't sleep. So nervous. I'm going to be meeting Robert Englund. Oh my God. Stay cool, Lisa. Anyway.
I grew up seeing ghosts. I didn't like horror movies because I didn't need any more ghosts or scary things in my life. But when I did discover how cool horror movies could be by being in 5, I was like, oh, this is a cool genre. I wasn't giving its full due. So that's really how I discovered it.
I want to hear about these ghost stories over drinks tonight.
That's a tragic.
Because I have a Poltergeist story.
Oh yeah. We got some swapping to do.
Bonus scene.
We need a campfire.
About horror films?
Oh yeah, or the franchise in general. Either.
I mean, look at my face. I've always kind of like, I've always existed in some freak realm. So, I mean, I did the second Poltergeist movie, so there was like a couple of horror films in a row, and no, I just thought it was really fascinating, and I prepped when I got this film. I think I watched like 3 of them in a row, and had like a sleepover with a bunch of my buddies, and then I think there was like a nude scene or something, and my mom walked in and she was like, "What happening?" Yeah.
So it's always the one scene moms walk in on, right? Like a Terminator, it's just Arnold with the machine gun, and then Sarah Connor, and then your mom walks in.
Yeah.
Right.
And as a kid, I felt like I was perpetually in trouble, so that made perfect sense that would happen.
I'm right there with you.
I'm not. I don't know. I get, like I said, I was home alone a lot, and I don't like to be scared, so I wasn't really into horror films.
What's that? I don't watch that stupid movie.
But I was terrified of Nightmare on One. I thought that was a scary. When I was a teenager when it came out, and I'd never seen a boogeyman like that. I didn't even go see it at the movies, but I waited till it came on HBO, and I watched it with like other 19-year-olds. Okay, let's watch this movie now. And it was that Nightmare on One scared the crap out of me. I was like, that was a weird movie. That was scary. But then, it was weird. I was like, whoa, it gets you in your dreams. Whoa, it was like, this is too scary. So I didn't really watch any of them, Jason or any of that, until I got the part. And then now I didn't come on the scene till 4, and Robert was like a celebrity. He wasn't, I'm not saying he was to fans, he was not really scary anymore, but they wanted him on the screen more, talking and being, have more lines. Because in Nightmare 1, he doesn't say anything but like bitch or whatever. He doesn't really talk a lot. He's always in the shadows. And then by the time I came on the scene, he was like, he was on lunch boxes and everything's wild. I always tell these kids, I tell the same story all the time. I hadn't ever seen Robert in makeup until I got onto the set one day. And I'm like, curious as heck, like, whoa, dude, what's he look like? Is this because he's 88? We didn't even have, you couldn't go to the store and get makeup like you can now. So I was waiting to see him as well. Like, oh, Robert's here, he's going to film. And I'm like, looking outside my trailer, like, well, I got to check this dude out, you know what I mean? And then all these little kids are over here. They're like, they don't know what Robert is or whatever. He comes out of his trailer and he's kind of in character. He looks so real. These kids just run off. They're all scared. And it was impressive. I was like, oh, he does look real, man. He big teeth and all greasy. And I was like, whoa, he's gnarly. But yeah, I wasn't really into horror films. But Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's the jam. It's an awesome franchise. It's pretty badass. Oh yeah.
Yeah. For me, I was in the military in the 82nd Airborne, and us big badass paratroopers, right? We go to the movie theater, and you never sit to each other.
Yeah,
because a seat, it's always a space between each other, and we're like watching this first time, and I'm like, and you're trying not to let on that you're scared. Holy crap! So it was pretty cool.
Oh man.
Yeah, that was my first time, and the remarkable thing is, as an actor, when you're a kid, you're growing up or whatever, you watch these films, and the next thing you know, you're working with those same actors. You're like, oh my gosh, this is the most incredible thing ever. And working with Robert Englund and everyone, it just, blessing, and you always pinch yourself there. You can't believe this is the coolest thing ever, right? You're playing, grown-ups playing with toys. That's what it is.
Oh yeah, I still want a Super Freddy toy.
Excuse me. I grew up watching on TV, Frankenstein, The Wolfman, Abbott and Costello and Frankenstein, and then The Exorcist in the theater, and a couple of other horror movies I can't recall the titles, but I've always liked the genre, especially when it's done well. It's fake, but it scares the hell out of you.
Cool. So I'll get one more in before I turn it over to the audience. You mentioned how iconic Freddy became in the 80s, and it was like a pop culture figure that sort of transcended the genre, like Godzilla, or a height that very few achieved. But I think my awareness of that as a young kid growing up in the late 80s came mostly through at first the Nintendo video game. So I was curious if any of you ever played that game, and if not, what is your favorite, piece of Freddy, like the thing you saw where you're like, wow, like they're doing that, like it's a lunchbox, or like kids, Halloween costumes, or there's some part of it that like you found, mind blowing at the time.
I was blown away with, like you said, the kid like lunch boxes, and he's like a child molester that's been burned by whatever, you're like, what? And then he's like a pop culture icon, They're
like, look at my Freddy stuff. You're like,
it did totally flipped it on. Like I said, I came around on part 4, and Freddy was a celebrity. Robert Englund plays him, but Freddy was like a thing that people wanted to see. So that blew me away. Just an action figure period. That was before. Now everybody has an action figure, but back then it was really rare, or to see merch. If your movie actually have merch, where now when Disney has a movie, you get the merch before even movies come out. Well, back then it wasn't like that at all. But Robert had merch already, and so that was amazing. That blew me away. That was wild.
I think the coolest thing I've seen is the pinball machine. There's a Freddy pinball machine, so that's like my favorite. I don't know Nintendo really and all that stuff, and I use a brown bag for my lunch. I don't think I'll use a Freddy Krueger lunchbox as I'm eating my slice of pizza.
There was what, just to jog memories, there was a rap album, there was lunchboxes, there was a record, there was a hotline, I think. There was a Freddy hotline at one point. Really? Yeah, there was the Freddy TV show, of course, Freddy's Nightmares. So just in case, any of that sparks a memory, and I figured I would throw those back up.
What happens when you call the hotline?
I think like most things, you don't actually talk to Corey Haim when you call his hotline. I'm sure you just hear a recording that's just like, hello, bitch. Yeah, welcome to prime time, bitch. Yeah.
You're like, oh, I just heard it.
Cameo.
This only
like
costs
Cameo?
$20 a minute.
Like how Cameo is now too, because you can order that, but generally we do our real, but we do quote Lion's Wrath that to do a lot on Cameo.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So that was the Cameo of the 80s, though. The fake phone line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, interesting parallel there. Very cool. Well, I guess I'll give the audience a chance to jump in there. You guys have any questions? I know it gets a little shy. It's okay. I have plenty here to go on. So one thing I'm always curious about these things is that when you shoot a horror movie, at least in my experience, the mood on set is a lot more light and a lot more fun than when you're making a comedy or a drama. So I figure most of these, sets have some really hilarious things that happen behind the scenes. So if any of you have any of your funniest on-set memories that you want to share.
I had the worst makeup, as you know. And my best friend had just had a baby. And she brought her baby to the set. I have a Polaroid picture of me with that disgusting makeup holding the baby. And the poor baby, he just looks like he has no idea what's going on. And my face is huge and greasy and gross. And I probably had like tomato sauce. Yeah, so I treasure that moment.
There's a lot of goofing around on this set because it's like Michael said, it's a bunch of adults, but they're playing, and you're in a genre. It's kind of like rock and roll, so there's no rules to it, so you can rock out, do whatever you want, whatever. So you're always in makeup, and it's like something, you got to be kind of a good sport because you're gonna have some crazy makeup like she had to have on, and you're walking around with like all this stuff on, and there is a lot of joking around because there's a lot you're playing it, you're making a movie, but you're kind of goofing around. And I had this neck piece. You guys, there's in one of the movies where I get them confused. And I go, hey, Alice want to make babies, right? That's in 4, I think, when I crashed the truck. Yeah, I had this.
That's 5. That's when you died.
Yeah, so
No, I think it's 5. You don't die.
I think I'm in the movie. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember. Anyhow, I had this crazy piece on my neck that looked like my windpipe was hanging out, and like you could think it was just awesome. It looks so real, but it's actually just stuck on this. But it has depth. Like you can my windpipes. It looked like this was like ripped out, and then my face had an eye patch on it. So it was amazing makeup. And we shot the scene, and then this is New Line Cinema didn't have a lot of money back then. I don't even know if they got permits to shoot on a neighborhood. But there'd be the whole film crew right here, and then right here's the neighborhood. They're going, what the hell's going on right there? And then, so they don't have any clue that you're making a horror film right here. and I had that piece on and the eye thing, and we finished and like, all right, let's set up for the next shot. And so we're all walking back this way. Well, on this, there's a lady walking her dog right on this side of the street. And I run over to her and I go, call 911. She was, it was like being dressed up for Halloween for like 6 weeks.
I got it. So playing Super Freddy was my first role ever. Never took an acting class, and it looks like it too, but just to let you know. I was scared shitless. I'm like, holy crap. Yeah, I played some football for the Cowboys. I did all these other things in the military. But when you get like action, what? You know, anyway, but I got into it, and interesting thing is I was there for a few days playing Super Freddy, and one of the days I just wanted to be on the set to soak in all of everything, you know, how they made movies, everything, the crew, everything. Because seeing the actors and you just go, man, I want to do this. I'm standing there and I look over and I see the director and the cast director. They're talking. And they look over at me. They're talking, looking at me. And I'm like, am I in trouble? Man, I don't know. And so all of a sudden the director goes, hey, Michael, we're thinking of using you for a love scene. And I said, that's Super Freddy? And they're like, no, you know, it's called Dream Child, and they need to, you know, Star needs to get pregnant, and he needs to get her pregnant, and so we need a body double for him, someone with a muscular back, and he has a muscular back, but they wanted my back, and so I said, wait a minute, you're gonna pay me for this? And he says, they go, yep, and I said, I'm in. So that's what happened. It was
So yeah, all those sexy muscles you see are around there.
And he was. It was me. It was me.
He was like,
It was me.
they're like, we got you a body double. I was like, that dude?
I know. And I only learned today that you were the naked man at the opening of Nightmare 5. I know. And who was the woman? Because it wasn't me. Sorry, guys.
yeah, no, I forgot. I don't know.
Okay. Interesting.
nice lady.
Maybe you played her too.
I don't know. But it's funny. I just got married, and my wife's like, I said, it's all spritz. That's not real sweat. I mean, it's just all spritz. That's all it is.
She wasn't affecting me.
Yeah, at all. Yeah, I wasn't either.
Sexies are weird. Sexies are weird, just so you guys know. I had, like, there's a bunch of people in the. It's like, I don't know. It's not like, I don't know. It's pretty weird.
I got along well with the special effects guys, and they gave me a bad casting of Erika's head that I used to play around with and look at and like. And I kept it in my house, and then I was interested. I make masks and puppets and stuff, right? So this was new for me, and so I was like, wow, this is cool. This is how they do this. And you had a little bubble in your chin, so it wasn't usable, right? There was like part of your chin was missing. And I joked with Erika that it was my bath toy, and she freaked out. And I was like, "Oh, okay, no." And I threw it away because I didn't want to freak you out. And I didn't even have a bathtub at the time. Yeah, I told her that. No, it wasn't really my bath toy. Anyway, so stuff happened.
That would be.
No, it really wasn't. Please.
Well, obviously, you guys have probably been doing cons and reunions for a while now. Do you have any memories of your first like full-fledged reunion con together, and what that process was like, learning about the con world and the humongous fan base that will never, you know, recede for these films?
Well, I don't know. For me, the first reunion we've had has been very recent. It went like 2-3 years ago, right? With all of us, and now we have Super Freddy, and so what was really cool is we really hadn't kept in contact since the film, so it was super amazing to see, you know, these faces, full reunion, and just see them again and catch up and all of that. So it's a great, you know, wonderful benefit just, you know, for us as colleagues, I guess you could say. So yeah, but of course, always enjoy all of you. And hey, as long as you want us to keep coming to these, we will. and we, I have so much. I always have so much
Thank
fun.
you. I was shocked. My first one. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I always have so much fun, and I learn so much from you guys because you guys will read about backstory stuff, or you'll come and ask us, "Is this true, Lisa?" That da. And I can confirm or deny or go, "Oh, I didn't know that, but I could see that happening." So it really is a fun interaction, you know. So thank you.
I got to say, it's nice to know Whit as an adult. Because he was just a little kid back then, and we were told, like, leave that little kid alone. So I never even went up and said hi, but as an adult, he's a great guy.
That's nice. Thanks, Joey. No, the first one I did, I think Erika loves this story. And like we got in the back of the van, we were being transported to dinner, and it was so bizarre for me to go from 10 years old to 45 in a blink. And I sat in the back of the van, and you know, they were all teenagers when I was a kid, so they were very fucking cool. And I got in the back of the van, and I thought, you know, it's really nice to hang out with you guys without my mom.
I couldn't believe it. I think 2017 was the first convention I went to, and I left for the military and a whole nother life, so I didn't have anything to do with Hollywood at all. And then 2017, someone said, "Hey, would you want to go to a con?" And I was blown away that the whole circuit's even a thing. And every time I do one, I go, "Well, I'll never do that." It's like, I can't believe they invite us back. I'm like, no way, people still want to see us. I'm just like, right on, thanks for having us. Because it's, you know, it's not a new movie, and it's the fans still love it. You got, you know, the whole franchise. So I'm super proud to be part of it.
Well, and it's this weird thing too, where like we didn't really interact, obviously, but because there's that association, there's a strange there's just like a dialogue and a language that we have because of that experience that people outside of it you don't necessarily have. And so that's an interesting thing that just is hard to explain.
Can I ask a question?
Well, by all means, sure.
What do you guys love about the movie? I want to hear somebody out there say something, because I'm interested in you guys.
And then we shout to ask questions as well, guys. Come on, like, what's someone's favorite kill scene from 5? You can shout it out.
Dad. Thanks, dude. Thanks, Dad.
That was a plant. Joey planted that.
Checks in the mail, friend. Checks in the mail. Well, you know, for me, we got a question. Okay, cool.
This is like you like to be a part of, when you got to be a part of Star Wars interest, or when you got to be a part of Marvel's regular franchise that you like to go side it off with.
Any of them that want to give me, no, it's a check. I'd love to be a part of these franchise movies now. Aliens, any of them. I don't know. I'm a fan of like a lot of the science, even the Marvel, all that stuff. They're all awesome. So
I'm looking forward to some McDonald's franchises.
Very nice.
I'm for a new Nightmare on Elm Street movie that brings back some of us, like they're doing so smartly in the Halloween series. And I'm sorry, but Warner Brothers seems to have something up their ass because they're really missing an opportunity.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing. Lisa still looks really cool. My face is still fucked up. So let's go. Let's go.
you guys, let me ask you guys, if they did another one, would you guys be okay with Robert Englund playing Freddy Krueger or some new guy?
Oh, Robert, come on, make some noise if you want Robert back, right?
Just in my opinion, I wish, because he's still young enough, I think he could pull it off, and I think he would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, right. But yeah, I think he could pull it off, and I want him. It's like replacing a band, like having a band and having a different lead singer. Everyone's like, "Who's this?"
We don't know the likelihood of that. Would you see a remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street or a new, number 10 Nightmare on Elm Street without Robert Englund? Would you come see it? You'd give it a try? Because I know a lot of you expressed you did not like the remake of, none of you guys like it, but you'd consider coming to see it even if it wasn't Robert Englund. I keep thinking Robert should just come back as a different character without the makeup on, but at least be in the series.
Do you have an idea? Do you have any idea that you'd... Yeah, hit it.
Oh, I've had a solid spec script idea.
Let it rip. We're all going to steal it.
I've had a solid spec script idea for specifically for the continuation after 5, because it seems that the continuity for the franchise was pretty solid all the way up until then, and then 6 was 6, and then part 7 was a movie all on its own. But I don't know where to send spec scripts. I don't know if you guys are willing to read stuff. I mean, I'm not just blowing smoke.
Go. Give us the elevator pitch, bro.
What's that?
Give us the elevator pitch. 2 sentences.
Well, I guess it's a story that continues with adult Jacob.
Fuck yeah. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Adult Jacob and Alice and Alice would reprise about what Freddy was trying to do in part 5 with your character, but there was some residual essence that did retain even though he was defeated. So basically my story was about Jacob more or less being haunted by his own nightmares by Freddy in a sense. It's not necessarily Freddy controlling him, but what he was trying to accomplish through you partially retained. And now there's murders going on in the likeness of Freddy. And unbeknownst to everyone else, it actually is Jacob that's doing this. It's basically taking on the mantle.
Warner Brothers, we got him. Let's go.
No, I would watch that movie.
There would be scenes for Robert, but I specifically wanted it to have him more or less be like not so much background, but he's not so much in your face, but his essence, you would see like silhouettes of him behind you, more or less. He's like the puppet master with you now, with what he's doing.
Okay. Love it.
Actually had a really great idea. I think playing a psychiatrist to someone who's having all these nightmares about Freddy, and this time he plays a psychiatrist to the main character, and I think that would be really fun if he would do something like that. I mean, he always says that he's willing to participate in the Q&As that I've seen him in. So and I would love it if they brought you guys back to obviously most of you died, but they brought Johnny Depp back in part 6 for a cameo. So I think you guys can exist now within Freddy's reality since he captured your souls.
Do you guys remember Fear Clinic from 12, 15? And Fear Clinic, and he's a doctor of sorts to help you with your nightmares. So I kind of like that line of thinking, and he wouldn't have to wear makeup. That he's a psychiatrist.
He could be his own age.
Psychologist.
He didn't have to be timeless Freddy. He could be an old guy.
Right. I like that. But I have no power. I could read all your stuff, and I wouldn't know what to do with it. It's not like I can just did that. Warner Brothers, we got him. I wish she was picking up a phone and say, "Hey, dude, how are you doing? It's Lisa. I got a really good script." Don't work that way.
I think, and maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Elijah Wood and another producer bought the rights, and Elijah Wood lives in my neighborhood. So,
well, it's up to you, buddy. Okay,
let's go.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna follow up with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Point. Super Freddy's alive and well, by the way. Getting some commentary at the back of the room here, so he could return as well.
Oh yeah.
DC Universe needs all the super help they can get as well. That's Warner Brothers.
Getting killed by Freddy Krueger, it kind of you're immortalized in pop culture though. There's not very and Freddy. I'm speaking to somebody at a panel one time. This guy stood up and goes, "Well, Jason has blah 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 many kills, and Michael Myers has this many kills, and Freddy only has da da," and he knew all the numbers of how many kills. And I was like, right on, dude. But Freddy actually doesn't have that many, so it's kind of rare to be killed by by Freddy Krueger. So we're kind of like astronauts.
This is the most.
Very cool. Yeah, that's how I've always felt.
Pretty rare.
Yeah.
We had a question here.
Yeah, you had asked what made the franchise so special, why we liked it. I think, growing up watching it, there was the big three. Jason, obviously, Michael Myers, Nightmare on Elm Street. Those were the big franchises. But anybody could have did, no offense, Behind the Mask, Halloween, and Jason, in my opinion. Freddy, he had personality. You came to see Robert, you know what I mean? That's what really, really made it. And he was, in every one. Where it was, I hate to say it, but it could have been interchangeable with, Michael Myers.
I agree. I think that's what you're not the first time I've heard that before. Yeah, or like I said, by the time I came on the scene in part 4, Robert had lines. There was he was in the daytime scene with the beach scene. So
wearing Ray-Bans.
Yes, yeah. He was
So
funny.
funny.
He had funny one-liners, and that you're right. Yeah, he had personality.
Entertaining. Very entertaining, not just,
No, I think that's important because that distinction you just made means that Robert or Freddie was aware of each of us very specifically. We weren't nameless victims. We were like people that he understood deeply and messed with very personally. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Personal.
it's more intellectual somehow,
Well, and putting comedy in it is hard to pull off in that genre. So like that's a big achievement that it found a tone that was pretty new.
We had a question right here.
Yeah. How did you guys feel about the following movie? How they pretty much just went away with the story they were going with the past 3 movies that you guys had been a part of, or like the last 3 that were in the franchise? Did you guys were upset that they didn't continue the story, or how did you feel about that?
I don't
They
understand
continue-
that.
I wish they had continuity because I think because if you've never seen Nightmare on Elm Street, I always tell people go watch 1, 3, 4, 5. Not because I don't like the other ones, because 1 is the original and then 2 is on its own. But 3, 4, and 5 they kind of go together. There's there's characters they have continuity. But that's what I like about it. So yeah, I wish they would have stuck with some of the same characters or whatever.
Any other thoughts on 6? Freddy's Dead.
Say what? Say that again?
Anyone else for thoughts on 6? No one wants to say.
Make people believe that it was going to be a continuation of something, which I think was a mistake. I think the franchise should have went on, and I think there could have been more storytelling there with you guys. It would have been great to see one of yous pop up again like Johnny did in part 6, because I love when cameos like that happen. Yeah, so hopefully it happens down the road. I'm hoping it does.
So if I could actually piggyback on that a little bit, one of my favorite pop culture things with Freddy is also the fact that they had a funeral for him when 6 came out. So did any of you guys attend the funeral? I know a lot of cast members. You came. I did. You did? What can you tell us about Freddy's funeral?
It was bizarre. It was a long time ago.
That one's working.
It was a long time ago, and so I don't have much recall about it, but there was a lot of people. It was at the Hollywood Cemetery, where I believe they still show the movies at night, once a week. That's all I recall.
Robert's getting his star on the Walk of Fame. I'm sure you guys have heard that, right? You guys know that, so that's going to be a pretty cool deal. Good. He finally gets his star. Now I actually know a person that has a star on the Walk of Fame.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't even know that Robert's getting the star.
Yeah, next year.
No, it's next year. Okay. Well, set your calendars, folks. We did cover the remake. I do want to give the audience one last chance before I let them go back to their tables. We got one right here. Right.
Hi. So 5 has always been my favorite throughout the whole franchise. This is my 17-year-old daughter. She will attest to that. I was ecstatic when I heard that you guys were going to be here. But anyway, because 5 is my favorite, and I'm sure you guys probably are going to say the same thing, but what's your favorite Nightmare on Elm Street? Which one?
Yours.
And you sound exactly like you did back then. Your voice is exactly the same. It keeps... I'm sorry.
It is.
Time to die, you Scarface Linton.
My feelings.
Love it. And that
was the hit.
My feelings hurt.
I like 3. I think 3 is really interesting. And I think that it takes some chances, and it's a little bit more, it's bold and dark.
I like 1 because it's so scary. But I find lots of times when in these things, the first one is always the best, and it's so different from the rest of them. And I just like the origin story, I think.
Yeah. I like 1 and 3. I really love. Yeah, I do like 3. It was just so psychological and scary, and you can get, But also mostly because I had a huge crush on Joey, who played by Rodney Eastman. I still do. And he knows it. I went to their wedding. Hi, Rodney.
I like them all. Like I said before, 1, 3, 4, and 5. But I like number 4 not because I'm in it, but because of the pace. It has like a fun pace throughout the whole movie. It doesn't really let off the gas until it's it's lightish, but it's also it keeps you watching, and I just like the pace of 4. It's like a fun horror movie if there is such a thing. It's pretty fun. The soundtrack on 4 is the bomb. Like it's not the one you buy, the one they gave you is half those aren't even in the movie. You know, the one that you can get the soundtrack. Well, those songs actually they aren't the good ones. Like all the other major artists that are in the movie, that's obviously this New Line. They didn't pay them or something. But there's like, Billy Idol and Sinead O'Connor, and I can't remember. There's a bunch of cool hip songs in the movie, but they're not on the soundtrack. But the actual movie has amazing music, and that's when MTV still used to play music. So we kind of had an MTV crowd for number 4, and it was kind of hip, because if you like even like what's the Dramarama song that it's still on the radio today, you'll still hear anything.
And 4 too. I almost feel like it was a huge hit in 1988. We were number 1 for like 6 weeks. That was unheard of. And Young Guns came out that summer and some really big movies, but we were number 1. And I really do feel like because it does have the music and the beach on the scene on the beach and whatever. It's like a date movie. You could actually, it wasn't blood flying everywhere or anything like that. It wasn't disgusting in that way. So you could take a girlfriend, whatever, and then she'd be like, oh, right, and cling to your arm, but not in a way, but also be laughing in a lot of the scenes. So it was like a safe horror film for anybody.
They're fun. These are very fun movies to watch. It's a great time. And we, so I'm not stopping the fun and the great time. Well, there's one last question here, and then I'll let you guys get back to your table. Thank you.
We have a photo op.
Oh, it's your photo op now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
2012.
Part 5, I think, stands out among the franchise because, as far as I'm concerned, aesthetically, with the gothic tone, I think that suits the Freddy dynamic and the atmosphere perfectly for the story itself. And it's got some of the best set pieces for everyone's individual kills, and not just that, but the house itself. But I was curious, like, what were your guys' favorite set pieces throughout? Because everyone's death scene is pretty distinct from one another, and then you've got the asylum we see in detail for one of the first times, and like I said, Freddy's house as well. I don't see that too much, but it's still just everything has so much life to it. So what was your guys' favorite set pieces that you got to work with?
I love that dining room. That dining room was so cool, and the characters that were cast were so over the top, and it was, I am so entertained by that room.
That's right. The cool. Sorry, chivalry is dead. The cool stop motion animation in the fridge was totally. It was really weird. Pee Wee Herman scary. Yeah. But I like, I like I did that one stunt where all the shells fell down just before my death scene, and that was really cool. I dug that. It was all black and white, and I was bright orange because they were playing with color. But that was really neat. I liked watching that fall down.
I got lost a lot. Like I would leave, and they'd have to go. They'd be like, "Where's Whit?" Because I was roaming around these giant sound stages because most of the sound stages, the set pieces, were built around the same time, and so it was just existing and there. And so it was a really crazy wonderland to just get lost in.
I got one thing I want to add too. It wasn't shot in a traditional studio. It was shot in an old A1 Globe noodle factory.
Pasta factory. It was a pasta factory.
Yeah, it was nuts. It was huge. It was bigger than any soundstage.
Locations, and so New Line Cinema wasn't bought by Warner Brothers yet. It was still New Line Cinema, not hugely successful. So yeah, they rented a warehouse that used to be a pasta factory and then turned it into a studio. But I got to there's a couple crazy sets that, I mean, the sets on 4 and 5 were nuts sometimes. There's nuts. And there was an Escher part in 5 where we're walking down the stairs and it keeps going in all those different angles. That was wild. It came out cool. And then in 4, there's a scene where they rip Freddy's shirt off and all the souls are in there, and they have a life-size one where there's naked chicks in there and dudes. And so I remember one day I come to work and it's like, I look to my left and it's like all these naked people walking around and they're all like, and it was a big sweater, like a sweater that was like huge, like 50 feet. And then they would get their bodies and push onto this plastic.
It was practical effects.
Yeah, it was practical.
Like,
It wasn't,
this group of men and women are sitting around a table. All right, how are we going to create this scene with naked bodies coming out? I know. We're going to have a huge sweater knit, and then we'll have people in it. Right. I mean,
that's what
coming up with this along the way, And so many practical effects that they had to spend so much time. How are we going to put this together and make it look believable?
A lot of practical, even like in the truck when the seatbelt goes around me, that the truck is upside down to begin with. So you're sitting in there already upside down, and they would let the seatbelt go, film it, and then pull it back up and then let it go again and film. So it was like, it took forever, but it was just gravity. It wasn't like a effect, like this high-tech effect that they have now. It was just like filming gravity. But then when they rolled it, it looked like the thing was wrapping around myself, but it was really me hanging upside down and a dude dropping the thing, cut and do it again. And then so then it just looked, practical effects were pretty wild back then. You got all these dudes off camera, either working a little mobile thing that moves its eyes or whatever the heck it is. It was pretty wild. The sets were pretty amazing. And Stephen Hopkins, the director for 5, his storyboards were like a comic book. Like every day you would have, they call it a storyboard, and it just gives you little pictures of what the scene is supposed to do that day. That dude could draw. He was an illustrator, I guess.
Yeah. He illustrated Daredevil for a while.
I was like, you'd get these storyboards, and it looked like a comic book. He
was amazing artistically that way.
And then they did give it, and he had a gothic look to the movie that definitely carried, look, that's what it looked like. It had a cool about it for 5.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right, any other set piece stories? I guess that's it. Well, I will let you guys get back. I know you have a photo op to get to, but they'll be here all weekend, so be sure to stop by their table, get some photos, get some autographs. I know they have a ton more stories to tell you, and make some noise.
Come on by. Thank you. Thank you guys.
Coming out.
It helped me with one of these.
This is Ray Santiago, and you're watching Fandom Spotlight. Please watch, like, and subscribe, or else we'll find you and you'll die.